What's up, everybody out there in Facebook land? It's D to the J with a roll away, and it's Wednesday, January 1st, 2020. Happy New Year, everybody. Want to welcome everybody to the Sports Minion Radio Show. Glad to do this with you guys. We got a lot to cover today. I want to welcome everybody as they come in. Welcome, James. Welcome, Nikki. Thank you guys for coming in to the Sports Minion Radio Show. Glad to see you. We've got a lot of things to cover today. I have a lot of sports stories to get through. I've also got some CP things to go through about 2020 vision, and I'm not talking about eyesight. I'm talking about your current 2020 vision. Happy New Year. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Happy New Year, Nikki. Great to see you. Hope everybody had a wonderful and safe holiday season. Belated Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope your Christmas tree decorations are still up and everything is still under the tree being played with and used, and everybody is still celebrating their wonderful holiday as it's been. Now, I'm going to actually, since I did on my last show, I did the cerebral palsy issue first. I am going to go through a couple of the sports stories. I don't have a lot, but I do want to, with the playoffs approaching and the season being over, there are a lot of the football season being over. A lot of teams have made coaching decisions and general manager fires and hires, and I want to go through a couple of those. Before I start with anything, I want to read a statement. My first story, I want to read a statement by Daniel Snyder, the Washington Redskins owner. Let me read this out loud here. Statement by Washington Redskins owner Daniel Snyder. As this season concludes, Bruce Allen has been relieved of his duties as president of the Washington Redskins and is no longer with the organization. Like our passionate fan base, I recognize that we have not lived up to our high standards set by great Redskins teams and players who have come before us. As we reevaluate our team leadership culture and process for winning football games, I am excited for the opportunities that lie ahead to renew our singular focus and purpose of bringing championship football back to Washington, D.C. Now, I want to say a couple things in relation to this, and here's why. When an owner comes out of the gate, and says, listen, I realize that our culture is not where it needs to be. I realize that we're not winning football. Now, again, I am reading into this. I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not quoting Daniel Snyder, so please don't think that I am. But I want to say this as plainly as I possibly can. When a football team has a season like the Redskins had, or the Bengals had, or the Giants had, you look at it and you honestly have to reevaluate everything from the top down. And I have said 100 times that in life, whether it's football, baseball, hockey, basketball, or any organization, it starts with your very best and goes down to the very, very bottom. Now, in my situation, there is no bottom to a company. You hire people that is going to strengthen your company and make your company the best that it's going to be. It is what it is, and we're going to go there. Now, with the Redskins firing Bruce Allen, this has needed to happen for a while. Bruce Allen has been general manager, I want to say, for the last, I know Snyder's been the owner for the last at least, 15, 20 years. So Bruce Allen's been in there since, I want to say, for at least 10. And at a subpar below 500 season, and with 2 playoff appearances, and you don't get past the first round, you've got to look at where you are and what you're doing as an individual and say, okay, when does this stop? I am very surprised that that Daniel Snyder is still with the Redskins organization. I am surprised that Daniel Snyder has not been, bought out, because the fans have been demanding to sell the team. And when you speak loudly enough, your voice gets heard. So the Redskins have fired Bruce Allen. They have fired the majority of their medical staff. They have done quite a bit. Now, what it looks like is that Ron Rivera, the former coach of the Carolina Panthers, is actually has been signed to a contract, 5-year deal. Now, and here's the thing, from what I gather, from what I'm reading and going to all the different sites and getting pieces of, is that Ron Rivera is respected by so many people, and I mean highly respected. Like, you know, there are players right now, and I've read this. Josh Norman was one of them. He said this, and I quote, in his exit interview yesterday, I was watching it on Redskins Nation. He said that Ron Rivera gets the best out of players, and not only does that, but builds character and builds men. And Josh Norman had a horrible year. His year, I mean, he spent a lot of his time, trying to catch corners, and Josh is nowhere near the corner he used to be. He can still play. I don't think he'll play for us. I don't know if they're going to keep him with the 1 year remaining on his deal or cut him or what they're going to do. But I'll tell you right now, when a player that has had that bad of a year and that bad of a season can come out and say, listen, that he wants to play for him. People want to play for Ron Rivera. And what's cool about it is, from the beginning of the year, my brother and I talked about this. For any team, when you start at the very beginning, from training camp on, when you start at the draft, your team has to be built for an identity to know exactly what you're going to do, where you're going to go. Are you going to be a pass-heavy team, a run-heavy team? Are you going to be well-balanced? Are you going to be run and shoot? Are you going to be fun and gun? What are you going to do? You've got to establish that at the very beginning and build the proper team around that. Now, the Redskins have put a lot of building blocks in place, but my question here, and this is what a lot of the fans are saying, the Redskins have the talent. You look at Cam Sims, Terry McLaurin, not Josh Doxson, the other Trey Quinn. You look at the running back situation. Had Bryce the running back stayed healthy, he would have actually, possibly broken records. And it's bad because, you get hurt for a year and then you're out and you come back and you go, a couple of games into the season and get hurt again and get put on injured reserve. We had 24 people on injured reserve, and we're signing safeties off the street, safeties and corners that have been with the team 3 weeks. In our last 2 games, we had no starters at the safety position, none. So here's the problem. And you've got to build for that. You've got to know, not necessarily that 24 injuries are going to happen, but you've got to know, and you've got to build your depth for your linebackers, your defensive line, your safeties, your corners. All of this has got to know, okay, we've got to be able to have the next mentality, the next man up mentality, and be able to plug them in there and not sign people off the street. Now, what Ron Rivera has already done, he actually has went out and got Jack Del Rio as his defensive coordinator. Now, I think this is a good move, and I'll tell you why. You look at Jack Del Rio and you say, okay, well, what's he done lately? He was with the Raiders. Okay, and remember now, John Gruden, his first year was horrible with the Raiders, and he's starting to build, and you can see with the record they've had this year and the wins they've had this year, the Raiders were decent. I mean, they were a lot better than they were last year. So you take Jack Del Rio, who took Carolina and built them from a 31st defense to a second-ranked defense in 2002. And then you take the Denver Broncos in 2012, who were a 20-ranked defense, and Jack Del Rio was with them, and he turns them into a second-ranked defense. So Jack Del Rio has the ability, and here's the thing. You've got to go from beginning to end and say, look, and I keep going back to this. What is our identity? What is our culture going to be? How are we going to come out as a team? Because you can't become one-dimensional. I've talked about it. You can't run the ball all the time. You can't pass the ball all the time. You've got to mix it up. You've got to do play action. You've got to show things that defenses have never seen before. And Ron can put in a scheme that will fit and build players around that scheme. Now, here's the cool thing about it, as my throat was dry enough to eat a tree. You look at the Trent Williams situation with the medical staff. There was a gentleman that was fired by the Redskins that was with the team, I believe, 17 years. And they're basically going to redo the entire medical staff, which needs to happen. When you have 24 players on injured reserve and not able to play at the end of the season, something is wrong. It's either the conditioning, the workout room, the ethics, not putting in the time. Something is not right. But I go back to this. You know, I look at Dwayne Haskins over this year, and in the 8 games he played in, 7 games he played in, you see improvement. I believe, after talking with my brother, after seeing him play, after seeing the growth in the games that he's played in, that he can be the quarterback of the future. When he gets a full training camp under him and he has a fully healthy offensive line and fully healthy receivers, and they have a system and a scheme set up that fits around Dwayne Haskins, and look at what Rivera did with Newton, okay? You look in 99, he took Carolina to a Super Bowl, so we're talking about, again, he has the ability to get them there. Putting in something that fits and putting in something that works to where he likes the younger guys, and our team is very young. We have 3 rookie receivers. First time in our team's history to start 3 rookie receivers in McLaurin, Sims, and Quinn, okay, because Paul Richardson got hurt. When Paul Richardson was out there, he was great. Adrian Peterson was benched the first game, and he still managed, almost 900 yards. And the first thing I would do, and looking at this, and I'm going to go into a couple stories here, I would bring Adrian Peterson back, because right now, him playing at 34 years old, he hasn't lost a step at all. And the first thing that we've got to do as a team, before we get any draft picks, before we sign anybody, when Rivera comes in, we've got to get a strong offensive a GM. We got to get a great GM. And the good thing that I like is that Rivera is going to have complete control. Okay, he's going to come in. He's going to have complete control of the team. Whoever's joined the Sports Minion Radio Show, your name hasn't come up yet. We appreciate you joining. Thank you for coming in. I know James was with us for a while. Nikki's been with us for a little bit. I want to say, putting in the proper building blocks from the management perspective of who's going to run the team and who's actually going to have complete control of the team. I like what the Redskins are doing so far. They've got a good defensive coordinator in. They've got a good head coach that's going to demand, the best out of the players and also give them the respect that they deserve. Let me touch on the Trent Williams situation and the medical staff. From what I read, and I believe this was 5 or 6 years, when the medical staff diagnosed the situation with Trent Williams' head, he had a growth on his head, okay? They watched this for, I believe, 5 or 6 years, and they told him that it was nothing to worry about. Well, what happened was he ended up having it removed this year and actually set out the entire season because the growth ended up being cancerous, okay? So Trent Williams, and there is a story on thescore.com. You can actually read about it. That's where I actually pulled the information from. about, with the medical staff changes for Washington is where the story came from. Does Trent Williams play? All right, there's two things I want to look at here. I don't have a problem with Trent Williams coming back and playing if he wants to play. Do we still draft the best left tackle in the league? Yes, we do. Because if we do not, okay, we have got to be able to replace Trent Williams if the stuff hits the fan, to keep it clean. Can Trent Williams come back and play at his best after sitting out a season and getting fully healthy? Yeah, I believe that he can, but will he and does he want to? And how does the team feel about it? Do they want him back? That's something you got to look at. All right, so that's the Trent Williams situation. So we don't know if he's going to come back or not. We don't know if he's going to come in and be part of the team. What are we going to do with the medical staff? We're still waiting on the remnants of that to play out as to who's going to be the chief medical operator and all that, or the chief doctor and all that stuff. But the first thing before anything happens, once we get the identity of what Ron Rivera wants to do and who he wants to build, we have got to fix our offensive line. Bottom line, point blank, no ifs, no ands, no buts about it. It does not matter who is back there. You have got to have an offensive line that is going to block in the run and in the pass. If Dwayne Haskins doesn't have at least 2.5 seconds to throw that ball to where he can actually step back and throw not off his back foot and not on under pressure. There were so many blown assignments on the offensive line where speed rushers came right through and just nailed Dwayne Haskins, because if you remember, I said earlier in the season, if they put Dwayne Haskins out there, it doesn't matter because our line can't block. When they put him out, they hurt his ankle, and now, the last two games, he didn't play much because Keenum came in, and Keenum did okay. He didn't do great, but Keenum's the backup, and Dwayne Haskins is a starter, and he knows that. If Dwayne Haskins does not have a line to block for him to give him time, the same thing is going to happen. Our defense cannot come out on 3 and out 4 and 5 times and us be under 30% on third downs and expect to stop the team every time. There were a lot of games this year, and here's the thing that bothers me. There were a lot of games this year that kept our defense kept us in, but in the second half they got tired. And I'll say this, Bill Callahan, I like him a lot, and I hope for some way or somehow they bring Callahan back. Kevin O'Connell, Dwayne Haskins likes Kevin O'Connell. He wants him to stay the offensive coordinator. I don't see it. I don't see Kevin O'Connell as the guy. I don't know. He hasn't sold me yet. I don't see that as, the issue of, okay, is Kevin O'Connell going to be the guy? Because he had to work with what he's got. I understand that part. But here's the thing. Is that what you really want? Does he fit the scheme? And again, nobody knows because Gruden was gone after, 7 games or 5 games or 6 games or whatever it was. Callahan comes in and he works what he's got. We went, 3 and 8, which is not great. But again, at least they played harder for Callahan better than they did for Gruden because nobody wanted to play for him. All right, so let's move a little bit. The other story I want to go to is the Redskins have signed 5 players to future contracts. Tackle Paul Adams, defensive end Ryan B, wide receiver Emmanuel Hall, and I hope I'm pronouncing this name right. Defensive end Cameron Melveu, and wide receiver Jordan Vesey. I look at this, and it's already started. It says here, now is the time when teams move to hoard as much long-term talent as possible. Plenty of roster changes will occur as the markets open and drafts occur, but these names might stick around because the front office saw something that it liked. So things are happening right now where it is actually where it's, things are going in the right direction. So now we've got to see if Ron Rivera can put in the talent. Now we've got to see what happens, when he gets his full staff in. Who's he going to bring? Who's he going to keep? Who's going to be the special teams guy? Are they going to keep the same? What's he going to do? He's got to have the time, and it's going to take more than a year to build this thing up. I think we will be better in 2020. I don't think we're going to, I don't know if we're going to make the playoffs. I would love to see it happen. You've got to see how training camp goes. You've got to see how the new medical staff reacts. You've got to see all stuff. So many variables right now with basics. And right now the basics, again, if we don't have a line, it doesn't matter what we're doing, running or passing. If you don't have a line and you can't open holes, our team can't do anything. And that's got to be the first. Morgan Moses has got to go. Dear Lord in heaven, please get Morgan Moses. I'm telling you. I understand that, he's got more holding penalties than a Brooklyn jail cell. I'm telling you, this kid, and he got to go. Time to go. Our center, he got hurt. The backup center came in. Our right tackle, again, we got to look at right tackle, right guard, left end, right end. We all of that. We have got to have. And here's my question. I read this also, and I know I'm covering the Redskins a lot, but I'm going to cover the Browns in just a minute. Also, Alex Smith, I've read several reports, and he denied any involvement with the Redskins front office. Alex Smith wants to play football, bottom line. He wants to play. Does it happen? I don't know. Does Ron Rivera see something in him? I don't know. But apparently he wants to play, and he's not going to be, out of football totally. Now, let me move over to the Browns just a minute because I want to make sure to take the other half an hour to cover the CP issue that I've got. There's two other stories that I have. The Browns now have fired both Freddie Kitchens after one season, and they also have fired their general manager. John Dorsey on Tuesday. Again, same thing happened with Washington. You got your head coach fired. You got your general manager fired. Now, Freddie Kitchens, that's rough because he only had one season, and you don't very often see somebody fired that quick. You at least give them more than one season. Now, here's the thing. The Cleveland Browns have requested that the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs permission to interview the offensive coordinator for the vacant head coaching job, according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. I believe it's BME has already scheduled interviews with Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants on Thursday and Saturday, respectively, Rappaport adds. The 50-year-old interviewed for several jobs last year. He served on head coach Andy Reid's staff in Kansas City since 2013 and became the team's offensive coordinator in 2018. The Chiefs fielded the best ranking scoring and yardage offense in 2018. The AFC West club maintained a high level in 2019, finishing the campaign ranked 5th and 6th in those categories. BME was Reid's first BME wouldn't be Reid's first assistant to become head coach in recent years. The Philadelphia Eagles' Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy of the Chicago Bears were also made head coaches before taking their current role. They became head coaches there as well. So you look at this and you say on paper, Cleveland has all this talent. Chubb, Beckham, Landry, all this talent on paper. Okay, and here's the thing. They started out so strong, and everybody was eagle watching, keeping a close watch on Cleveland, because even I said Cleveland's going to be the bomb this year. Baker Mayfield is only as good as the people around him and the line that he has. When there is a problem or an issue with a coach, when there's an issue in the locker room, when there's an issue, period, it causes problems. When there's turmoil internally, it causes problems. And I believe that Freddie Kitchens did not want to, the general manager did not want to give up control of what he had, which I gotta stand ground on that. When you have control of something and you don't want to bring in a new OC to call the plays, or you want to, when your vision is different, it doesn't work for the team. It doesn't become, what you want it to be. So they tried to reach a decision with Dorsey to stay. So there was an attempt there. I don't know on Freddie Kitchens' behalf if there was, because they just, they both said, that they couldn't reach an agreement and that they thought it would be best for them to both part ways. Now here's a story, and this is the last story that I've got. And this is what really gets me, because I'm confused by this. I read it. Okay. Reported Cowboys to meet with Jason Garrett for a second time. It appears the Dallas Cowboys won't be making a decision about head coach Jason Garrett's future until Tuesday, which would have been today or yesterday. Garrett, whose contract expires following the 2019 season, is scheduled for a second meeting with owner Jerry Jones and executive vice president Stephen Jones on Tuesday. ESPN's Todd Archer reports the 53-year-old isn't expected to be retained, but an initial meeting on Monday didn't lead to a decision, and the team's public relations staff sent all the media home. The Cowboys battled inconsistencies in the route to the 8-8 finish over 2019. Over 9 seasons with Garrett as the team's head coach, Dallas has earned just 3 playoff appearances. The club has been linked to a number of high-profile coaching candidates, including Lincoln Riley, Urban Meyer. However, they don't currently appear interested in a move to the NFL. So now here's the thing. When I read that, I was under the impression that Urban Meyer was going to be the Redskins head coach, because he was there at Haskins' game when he did so well, playing, I believe it was against Green Bay or the Eagles, one of the two. He was there. And he had worked with Haskins, so I thought, man, and apparently everybody thought that Meyer was going to come in. But I don't know. This is one that's kind of got me baffled, because the cool thing is Jerry Jones keeping it under wraps, just to blow it out there? Or, what is he going to do? We really don't know. Is he going to give him another year? A lot of fans don't think so. All right, last thing I want to cover with sports stories, there's a story with Antonio Brown. I'm not going to cover a lot of this because Antonio Brown brings a lot of drama with him, but I do want to talk about this. Antonio Brown worked out for the Saints, and he actually thought, that after Sean Payton brought him out, that it was a stunt for the New Orleans Saints, because they knew they weren't going to hire him. He's all in an uproar about it. He sent out a Twitter thing saying that it would, he appreciates what he did, but they knew they weren't going to sign him, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. I'm about tired of hearing about Antonio Brown. 31, I know you got talent. Everybody knows you got talent, but if you can't stay out of the daggone public eye and you can't put your Twitter account down, nobody's going to sign you. If you don't work with the Patriots, now here's my thing. I've said this 100,000 times. I'm not a Patriots fan, never have been, never will be, but I call it like I see it. If you don't work with the Patriots and Bill Belichick, something is wrong with you. I'm sorry. If you cannot work with Bill Belichick's offense, something is wrong with you, because he has taken nobodies and turned them into superstars. He has coached them, and he has coached with everybody and given everybody chances. They sign you and you mess it up by doing something stupid with helmet grievances and all this stuff. Dude, just play the freaking game and leave it alone. You are a multi-talented athlete. Be that athlete. Show people who you are. Show people what you are. Stop complaining and moaning and groaning and bitching and all this stuff. Play the game. That's all you've got to do is play the game. Bottom line. Play the game, do it right, stay out of trouble, keep your hand off your Twitter account and your Facebook and all that, and you'll be all right. All right, that's the sports I've got for you this year, the first day of this year. All right, so let's talk about our issue with CP today. And I kind of want to go into this, and I want you to think about it. Everybody makes New Year's resolutions. Every year, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to work out. I'm going to go to Maine. I'm going to buy a dog. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to not drink. I'm going to not curse. I blew that one right out of the water right here on the show. For years, I've made New Year's resolutions. And for years, you keep them for a little while, and then you don't. The problem is, and a lot of people, when I started doing motivational speaking for Kelly's Choice over a year ago now, working toward my second year, when you speak to a room full of people and you look into their eyes and you look at their faces, you see a lot of different things when it comes to people. A lot of people want to be told what they want to hear. A lot of people are not confrontational. Some people have to have drama in their life. Some people just don't want to hear what you say, no matter how much you tell them. They don't listen. They're hard-headed and they don't do it. But there are some people that, because of a negative influence of others, they become negative on themselves and they drop themselves down. I have been around more people with cerebral palsy with Kelly's Choice and going to these events and meeting people like Nikki and meeting people like Taylor and meeting people like DJ Adams and Kelly herself. When you dive into cerebral palsy and you look at what cerebral palsy is and does to an individual or an individuals, you have to ask yourself, do you have 20/20 vision? Now, what has that got to do with CP and with Kelly's Choice and all of that? The reason I ask this question is because a lot of people don't know what their vision is. Their vision is blocked because they have a disability and they're told you can't. They're told you can't so much because they have a problem, because they're in a chair, because they're overweight, because they're black, because they're white, whatever the problem may be. They get discriminated against, and this is with all disabilities, but I see it a lot with CP myself. Sometimes you have to weed out the garden, and I say this a lot. People are not your friends because they tell you they're your friends. If somebody is not in line with your goals, if somebody does not support you in what you're trying to do, if somebody does not give you strength and lift you up in what you're trying to do. Now, I'm not talking about advice now. They can say, have you thought of this? Have you tried this? But as long as they don't discourage you from what you're doing, they are the right people in your life. When they start discouraging you and become weeds and they stunt your growth by holding on to you and holding you back and telling you that you can't or you won't, or this is not going to happen because you have CP, try doing something different. Here's the thing with vision. You can only move forward by looking straight ahead. You know, I've been in martial arts now for 10 years, and the funny part about life is I learned that where your head goes, your body follows. And the funny part about life is, and what you see, when you have somebody, when you believe that you can do something, and you have someone else telling you that you can't, that is affecting your vision. Okay? When somebody is in your life and they're pushing you away and tearing you down, and you start believing that, that is affecting your vision. Your 2020 vision needs to be what you see, not what everybody else sees. And if they're not there to support you and give you a helping hand and let you understand that they believe in you, because here's the thing, folks, and I want to mention this because it's very important. Belief and faith are very important things. Going into something that you have been told your whole life you can't do, but if you know in your heart that you have something that you want to do it. Let your vision be seen, but put your vision on paper. Put your vision where you can read it every day when you get up in the morning and you open that bedroom drawer to get dressed. Put it in your dresser when you open that top drawer to put that shirt on or those pants on, and you see that little piece of paper. Read that piece of paper every day and remind yourself of what your vision is. Because there are thousands of people in this world, millions of people in this world that will tell you you can't or you won't. But there are few that support you in the village that Miss Winnie talks about and saying you can and you will. And this is the problem with vision. And you think about 2020 and you say, oh, I didn't do this in 2019. 2019 was a horrible year, blah, blah, blah. 2019, you were alive. And people hear me say this all the time. And guys, as you come in, welcome to the Sports Minion Radio Show. I really appreciate it. Happy New Year to everybody. Your vision is yours. Your story is yours. Your progression is yours. And no one can take that away from you because you and God are the ones working toward it. And if that doesn't work for you, I understand. I understand. I'm not trying to force anything on anybody. I don't want to, push any issues any away. But what I am going to say is people have to realize that if it's going to stunt your vision or prevent you from seeing or prevent you from believing or having faith in what you want to do, remember this. You see a garden and you see pretty roses and flowers in that garden. A gardener has to put nutritious soil down in that garden. Sunlight, water, nutrients for them flowers to grow properly. But one thing he's got to do is he's got to get rid of the weeds. Okay? And what I'm talking about, if he doesn't, the weeds will grow and overtake the flowers and suffocate the garden and kill what's in it. If there are weeds in your life that are affecting your 2020 vision, and you have cerebral palsy, or you have spina bifida, or you're blind, or you're deaf, or you've been told, or it doesn't matter what disability you have, CP or not. Let's take a basic. If you say, I want to lose weight, and somebody says, man, you've been saying that for 20 years and you ain't done it. If you are committed to it and you believe in it and you know that's what you want to do it. Disregard what the naysayers say and what the negative people in your life are saying. And I'm not saying get rid of them permanently, but if it affects your vision, and if it is blocking your vision to where you cannot move forward because they are in your way and becoming a barrier that you don't need, maybe it's time to let them go for a season or two. And you've got to be okay with that. See, one thing I realized with having cerebral palsy, everybody's going to get tired, everybody's going to get frustrated, and everybody's going to get mad once in a while. Even Miss Winnie. With all the stuff that she does and all the things that she goes through, sometimes she's going to get frustrated and she might just haul off and clothesline somebody. Look, things happen. If you are a parent and you have a child with a disability, please don't discourage them. If they say, Mom, I want to be a lawyer or a doctor or a gymnast or a superstar or a singer, don't say, oh, baby, you're in a chair. Let's find something that you can do. Encourage them. Believe in them. Push them toward the right direction. Don't discourage their dreams. Let them dream big. Let them see their dreams and visualize their dreams, because 20/20 vision is hard enough to keep when your own parents discourage you and tell you you can't or you won't. That's your parents. Those are the people in your life that are supposed to be your building blocks, supposed to be your foundation, supposed to be the people that are in your life and support you no matter what happens. But you know what? Parents are not around forever. And I thank God every day for my mom, because I'll tell you one thing, my mom never told me I couldn't do something. My mom pushed me and supported me and loved me and gave me everything that she has and still does to this day. She has to do it a little different, but she gives me that motivation and that understanding and that love to say, listen, you can do whatever you want and I'm here for you. Now, the thing about vision, though, and you got to be careful with this, because a lot of people don't understand, and myself included, this was a hard one to get a hold of. So if you're with me, hang on just a minute. Sometimes to see clear vision, you got to fall to the bottom to get to the top. Okay? I want to talk about this just for a second. You know, it's amazing what God has done in my life. And I'll say this because I'm not trying to pull it to anybody or preach to anybody like that. But sometimes God will let you realize and take things away from you that are keeping you from Him, or whoever you believe in, or whatever you believe in. It will take it away from you until you see clearly. And I keep saying, do you have 20/20 vision? You know, people in jobs want promotions or they want better jobs. But my brother has said this, and this is one thing I agree with and I understand. Sometimes you've got to take a job that's a little bit lower on the totem pole. You got to take what you can get to the top. Rome was not built in a day. You ever seen one of those entertainment centers that have like 577 parts to it, screws and plastic bolts, and you got to connect connector A to B and B to C and C to D and so forth and so on, and pretty soon you're there 4 hours and you got XY and connector XBA and you got to connect it over here and you're just frustrated. Sometimes you got to step back and take a deep breath and say, okay, let me come back to this. But do not forget that, disability or not, you can accomplish anything that you want if you want it bad enough and you work for it. Here's the thing. You've got to put in your work to accomplish your goals. If you don't put in your work to accomplish your goals, everything you do is going to be dead because there's nothing behind it. You've got to have that oomph. You've got to have that push. You've got to push through. You know, I talked about boundaries at the 2019 Caregivers Gala. You know, the amazing thing to me is boundaries are there, but if I don't push through them and if I don't push hard, I'm not going to get anywhere. Sometimes you have to reevaluate how you look at the goal you want to accomplish. And you've got to be around people in your life that support you, that lift you up and not pull you down. That's the hard part about New Year's resolutions right there. That's why I don't do New Year's resolutions. I want to be around people that lift me up and not pull me down. And if you don't see my way, I'm not saying bye to you forever, but brother, you got to go. If you can't see the vision that I've got, if you can't give the support that I need, if you can't help with what I got because you want to be negative and try to get me to do something else when my heart is set on this vision, you're a weed in the garden and I got to pull you out. See, here's the thing. I've wanted to be a public speaker for a long time. I wanted to be involved in a room full of people with cerebral palsy for a long time. And Kelly's Choice has given me that opportunity. But if I would have let the negativity of that first conversation that I had with Mr. Wilson, and I didn't get the call back, and I would have said, well, forget it. They didn't call me. I ain't calling them. If I would have not called Miss Wilson back and she not realized that my message somehow got deleted or got misplaced, I would have not gotten the opportunity to be where I am right now. You have got to push through the obstacles that are in front of you. And there are going to be obstacles every day. But if you don't have 20/20 vision, I'll say it again, there are going to be obstacles every day in everything that you do, and you've got to push through. If you don't push through and have 20/20 vision, you're going to fall. You're going to fall. But here's the thing. If you fall, it does not mean that you cannot get back up. I remember, I cannot remember the name of the story, but there was a story that my mother read to me when I was a little boy about I think it was a parable or one of those where there was water in a container, but the bird couldn't get to the water. So the bird goes and he drops a stone into the water, and he notices that the water, as he drops more and more stones into it, the water starts to rise. So he drops enough pebbles and stones in the water to get the water up high enough where he can reach it. Okay, here's the thing. That bird had to pick up all those stones and drop them in that container of water, which was 5 to 9 times bigger than he was. And he had to work, because how many stones did he have to drop in that water to get what he wanted? How many stones did he have to drop in that water to get that water high enough where his beak could touch it? That's like your goals in life and your dreams in life and your 20/20 vision in life. How bad do you want your dreams to come true? If you don't push and you don't do the work and you don't put in the effort to make your dreams come true, because here's the thing, the point I want you to grasp is they're yours. The goals that you want and the goals that you write down and the goals that you push for are yours. But remember this, you were not alone. You were not forgotten. You were loved. You can do anything that you put your mind to if you push through and you want it bad enough. But you've got to do the work. Steve Harvey talked about wanting these acres, wanting this land when he finally got some money and was finally able to push through, because for him to get to the Apollo was a touching story. He didn't have hardly any money in his pocket to get there, and he ended up going and getting $300 to get but the story behind that is so powerful and so emotional. As a motivational speaker, go look it up. Steve Harvey's path to Showtime at the Apollo. But he said this: you've got to do the work and you've got to put in the effort to get what you want. It's not just handed to you. You have not because you ask not. And you've got to write it down so that you can see it. You've got to understand that if it's there, if it's in front of your face, if it's there in the morning, if it's there in the evening, if it's there at supper time, you're going to look at it. You've got to see it. You've got to understand that it's there because you want it. And don't forget that that desire that you have. It doesn't matter if others don't see your desire. It's not theirs. It's not their desire. They don't matter. You're the one that matters. And think about all those times that you've been told no, or you won't, or you can't. Think about that moment when you accomplish that goal. Think about that moment when you push through and Kelly's Choice launches and you saw the vision. Think about when you win your first grand championship in 2017. Think about when you became a black belt in 2015. Think about when you got married. Think about when you got that job or got that new car or got that promotion that you wanted, and you had to push so hard after all those no's to finally get that yes and finally see that 2020 vision. And you worked hard at it, regardless of whether those around you told you no, regardless of whether you had the support system or not, you got there. But if you see it and if you believe it, you can make your dreams come true. I promise you it can happen. Things like this aren't just written in thin air. It is a fact that if you put in the effort and if you do the things that you need to do and do the right thing and be the right person that you're supposed to be and weed out the weeds that are in your garden is going to grow to what you want, and it's going to give you the potential that it needs and the nutrients that it needs to be what it's supposed to be. And I'm not talking about just a flower garden, guys. I'm talking about life. Life is going to have roadblocks. I get that. But if life has a roadblock, take a detour because it'll still get you where you want to go. Have 2020 vision in 2020. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the Sports Minion Radio Show today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to the Sports Minion Radio Show. You can see me every Wednesday at 2 o'clock on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook Live. Also, you can email me at the Sports Minion Radio Show at the Sports Minion Radio Show at yahoo.com. You can see the show on our YouTube channel, the Sports Minion Radio Show, and you can also go to our Sports Minion Radio Show Facebook like page at www.facebook.com/The Sports Minion Radio Show. We'll get back into the email bag next week. Glad to have everybody with you. Hope you had with me today. Hope you had a wonderful, happy holiday season. I turned 38 over the last couple of days, and 38 has been great. I was worried about turning 38 earlier, but you know what? It's happened. Guys, I will get you an update on the van as soon as I can. Thank you again for tuning in and listening to the Sports Minion Radio Show today. Please keep those questions and comments coming. Again, I will get into the email bag Next week, we've got a couple of emails that came out, a couple of sports-related questions that I will answer next week. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Sports Minion Radio Show. This is D to the J with the roll away, where I deliver sports to the community the best way I can. We'll see you next week on the Sports Minion Radio Show. Take care, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to our broadcast today.